What's up everyone, it's Lens Addict here, and you're seeing my Mavic 3 stuck in the tree. So how did that happen? Let's have a look. So I was testing out ActiveTrack today, and just having some fun, flying around, thought it could do some simple active tracking in an area that I've done it a few times. And thankfully, I was screen recording, so you'll be able to see exactly what went wrong here. And you can see that the active track was set to normal and not nifty for a brief second there. If you pause the video, you'll see it. And what basically happened is that it was doing really well. It was tracking me just fine. But there was a point during the tracking here, which is about to come up, where you'll see that it basically flies into the tree. And we're going to see that here. So it looks okay, it looks like it's avoided the tree, it's detecting me, I'm not moving, but all of a sudden it just decides to fly upwards into the tree, and there you go. And that's how we got the Mavic 3 stuck in the tree. As you can see, it was actually really quite high up, and although I'm quite tall, I couldn't get it down. So I had to get a ladder to get it out of the tree. Thankfully, the drone was actually totally fine after I got it down. So I'll show you what it looks like after the tree incident. So no real damage really, other than the propellers getting a bit darker. Even the orange tip stayed on all the propellers. So I was quite lucky with this one. It kind of just flipped into the tree and there was no hard impacts, so the legs and everything is totally fine. I think this is maybe the only damage that I can see, where the orange tip here is coming loose. But that's not really that bad. Other than that, as we can see, the drone is still in really good condition. So I was very lucky, because if this had fallen out of the tree and hit the ground, it might have been a different story, because it was 3 meters up or more. Here is another active track test with this big tree in front of us. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk through this tree and see how active track goes. Can it avoid the branches? And how smooth is the footage? So I think it actually does pretty well with this tree, as it's a little darker than usual environment, but yeah, it jumps over the branches, goes underneath. Here there's a branch behind it, so you can see it's going up and above that branch. And you can see it's still tracking me even though I'm obscured by that branch. So it's doing really well through the branches here. And I'm not touching the controls at all here. I'm just letting ActiveTrack figure it out. But you can see it might even go underneath. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see ActiveTrack handling this tree, and as I run around it, you can see that it's able to dodge all the branches, and yeah, it's awesome. I was quite impressed. Even when you run right in front of the drone, it still maintains tracking, locks on really quick. Compared to the Mavic 2, this is much better. The Mavic 2 pretty much couldn't do this, what you're seeing here. So we're going to keep testing out the tracking here, see how it handles. Running through the bush, running out in the open park. You can see I've told it now to go in front of me, and you'll see it makes its way in front. And it says this error message that it shows on the screen is that I'm moving too fast. So that's a new one. I've seen the one where it says that it's obscured by something, and that's why it can't go in front. But this time it says I was going too fast, which is a bit surprising, because the Mavic 3 can go up to 70 kilometers an hour almost, or even above that. So for me to be running at like maybe 15 k's an hour and it can't go in front of me just seems a bit strange. Maybe it's because it can't go fast enough with the obstacle avoidance enabled. So here you can see it loses me, then locks back on, and then it locks on, and then it's almost lost me there. But it kept track. And we're going to go through this tree again and see how it can handle that. And you can see it's doing a really good job, avoiding the branches, going down low. Oh, it didn't want to commit to that, but it did go underneath that branch. So we got some more ActiveTrack testing coming up here. And this time I'm going to be doing a little bit more running underneath the tree to put it under a little bit more pressure. So I'm really gunning it here, really, and you can see that it does get stuck behind the tree here. It doesn't get as close as it did before when I was walking, but it's still keeping track. So it's still doing a good job. And you can see I run through these branches, in between the branches, still keeping track. It's doing a really good job. Now I'm giving it another go, and this time seeing if it'll try and go past the branch here if I keep going forward. And unfortunately it ended up losing tracking on me there, but did lock back on. So it did a good job. And here I'm trying to get it to lose tracking, and it lost tracking again. So you can get the Mavic 3 to lose tracking because it's visual only. It isn't perfect. Here's a fun look at the top speed of the Mavic 3. So you can see it actually got to 75 kilometers an hour almost, or 74.8, which is quite impressive. And for the final test, we're going to test out the smart return to home. So here it is running, and I would think that it would actually try and figure its way out as it descends as well. But the smart return to home only seems to kind of avoid obstacles as it heads towards the home point. But once it gets to the home point, it tries to land on the tree and then says, it's not suitable for landing. So I think it is useful to have the smart return to home, but generally I just use the preset still, just in case I run out of reception. I just don't like the fact that I have a return to home that kind of doesn't know what to do if it, there's a power line or something really thin in the air. You don't want it to hit that, especially if you're in the city. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and let me know down in the comments below if there's anything else you would like to see next. Lens Addict out.